All right, it's 20 seconds after 6, and we'll get this party started. Hope everybody had an enjoyable Labor Day weekend, and in for a nice evening here in the courthouse in the air conditioning. So there are Title VI forms on the back table. If you care to fill one of those out, you can, and turn it into the auditor's office. I'd like everyone to stand, and I'm going to ask Kenny Buning, lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask Greg Redd from the First Baptist Church to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Father God, as we gather here this evening, we are thankful for another day of life. And Lord, as we do the business of this community in which we love, please guide our decisions, guide our paths, and let us be a representative of you. Until the day we meet you in glory, we thank you so much for all you do. And it's in your Son, Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Greg. Minutes.
I didn't have anything.
Any
That's all,
questions?
no additions or corrections.
All right,
I'd move to approve.
and I'll concur. Got 2 sets of minutes from the executive session, so probably need to make a second motion on the executives.
I'd move to approve the executive
Second.
minutes.
All right, I'll concur on that also. Claims, any questions or concerns on the claims?
I saw nothing.
I didn't have anything this time.
All right,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'd second.
and I'll concur. Got payroll, September 1st, last Friday.
I didn't have any questions.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
And I'll concur on that. Pass those again. Todd Houck.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Kind of need to report, we have the community crossing grant has been completed. And I'm working on the closeout for that grant with NDOT. We're working on 200 West, new county highway garage is at, getting that ready to be paved. We're continuing to do bridge maintenance. Continue to be mowing roadsides and spraying vegetation. Report on Bridge 236. They've got the piling set on the east-west side. Ready to start doing their embutments and wing walls. The sidewalk project, they've done pieces all the way down to the high school. The ADA ramps, and it's looking pretty good. We're also out there doing some berming on some roads. And that's all I have. You gentlemen have anything for me?
I got a call yesterday afternoon from one of my neighbors, actually, that down on the west end of County Road 550, before you get to the S curves to go into Germantown, there's a bunch of vegetation that has overgrown the north side right there before you get to the S curves there. That is now out in the roadway. And I know from my personal experience it has clipped my mirror as well, but it is pretty far out into the roadway there. I don't know in the past if the highway has trimmed those back or if you guys have talked to that homeowner there about trimming them.
Well, normally if it's out in the roadway and it's crowding people to the center of the road, we usually go down and take care of it. If it is on a homeowner's property and it's, say it might be ornamental bushes or something in that matter, usually I stop and knock and find out if they want to take care of it or if they would like us to.
Yeah, but no, they did call me and they said your guys were out there today and they did a great job on the roads, but they didn't hit those trees there.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have anything else for you though, Todd.
The sidewalks, it's going out central, out to high school, that's not part of this bridge project, is it?
It's a shared project. It's the way that worked, and me coming in on the last of it, that project's a shared project with the highway department and the city. Mark ended up taking the lead because of the bridge, and he's also in charge of the sidewalk. But yeah, that is part of the project. But it's a city sidewalk, and it's a county bridge.
Okay.
Now, like on Park Road, that'll be a shared deal too. The county will be involved with the very first part, and the city will be taking care of the other two, but they're taking the lead on that.
Okay. Anything else for Todd?
I have nothing for him.
Thank you, Todd.
Kenny?
Good afternoon, gentlemen, or evening, I guess. Since 2 weeks ago, I had 63 building inspections, 14 new building permits and plan reviews. Had 3 red tags, 2 were for electrical connections to the wrong lugs in the meter box. Both were corrected and green tagged, and meter inspection sent to the proper power companies. The third was issued following a complaint of a remodel being done without a permit and a possible problem with the septic system not working correctly. The health department is aware of the property, and that one happened today, so I haven't heard back from anybody. Lake McCord Committee did meet via Zoom with IDEM to share information about the sewage treatment facility and ownership of it, among a few other things. And I have not done any follow-ups on any of the letters sent. The property in Sandusky has done nothing. I get ready to turn it over to Chad, but I have heard rumors that that guy might be in jail, so I'm not sure how we pursue that. That's all I've got, gentlemen.
I'll follow up quickly on the property on 850 South, the Smith residence. I drove down there, it's probably been 2 weeks ago, and there was substantial improvement on that property. The 3 big trucks that had been there had been moved well back off the roadway, and there was a rear axle and a truck. There was nothing really up against the road, so substantial progress with that. So I contacted the attorney and told him to hold off on any abatement. Frankly, I don't think there would have been anything to abate. So we're going to follow up again on that in the next week or two and see if that's finished itself out and closed, finished cleaning it up. As long as it has, we'll close that case. So they did clean that property up. They did get, I said there may have been 2 or 3 cars left there and an axle. So unless something goes back again the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think it will be to the satisfaction of what we were looking for out of it. So there shouldn't be any further action on that. And I would assume the other property owners down there will be very pleased with what they wanted. From my initial conversation with them, they're like, we really just want it away from the road, and it's clear almost all the way to the house now. So we've gotten the progress out of that we wanted. So
Good. I know the discussion with the St. Omer property was that they were going to use Toxaway to get rid of a lot of the tires and some of the other stuff that was there. Can you check that by next week?
Sure.
Since Toxaway Day is
When is
This Saturday.
this Saturday.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it right after that.
8 to Toxaway Days, 8 to 1 o'clock this Saturday out at the fairgrounds. So if you can just go by there and check to make sure that in fact has been done.
Okay. And we can get that one closed out too, if he's good.
Yep.
Okay, I can do it.
There was a complaint, came through Patty to Clarksburg. That get passed to you?
They have been sent a letter, yeah.
Okay.
lots of residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know I got a phone call on the way down here today about another one in St. Paul that I think will be coming your way.
St. Paul, okay.
Yep.
Anything else for Kenny?
Nope.
That's it for me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Gentlemen, I want to ask to table this, and I was looking through it today, and I saw something I'm questioning, so I want to get that cleaned up before I come back for you.
Okay.
Table, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Rick Anderson.
Good evening, guys.
Is this what you'd sent us an email?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Hopefully y'all got my
Yeah,
email.
got it copied off here.
Good evening. I'm not used to being here at this time of the day. So anyway, I hope you guys got my email. Good news, so this is final pricing on everything. So everything, you've seen everything up to this point. We did have the last discussion that we had with you all was about the window preference that you had, so that got incorporated into this. Good news is when we went out and got final pricing, it came at $58,000 less than what we had told you kind of preliminarily. So we hope we're good at what we do, so this got through. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any other questions, or this is final pricing. So, and the way things are going today with vendors, they typically give us about a 60-day. We'll hold the pricing for 60 days.
That was going to be my question for you, was how long?
Yeah, Mark, isn't that about right?
Yeah,
Yep.
we asked for that when they give us pricing.
Yep.
So Rick, let me understand, this is very little interior work other than windows.
Yeah, correct. There's going to be, so the light fixtures, that the corridor light fixtures, so they're not up in the ceiling, they're kind of down a little
Surface
bit.
mounted.
Surface mounted. There's going to be a little bit of potential painting or something in there, but it's going to be real light. It's not.
We're going to replace those fixtures, so we didn't want it to have a spot left or something. So we're going to pull them loose, paint the whole ceiling, and put the new ones up.
Okay, that was,
So painting the entire ceiling in that area
The corridors. It's just the corridors.
for the corridor,
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
entire area.
Right.
It's
Right,
kind of a
edge to edge.
cement material,
Yep.
sort of.
Yeah, it's a strange structure. It's the bottom of the structure above, basically. It's been painted, it's painted now, so we're just going to put a new coat.
Well, I don't know if this would entail another meeting with the council, but everything seemed to go well with those guys. And so typically the next step would be to get you guys a formal contract with, it's got all the T's and C's, and then it's got obviously the scope of work. I can give that to your county attorney, have him take a look at it. Typically, it's pretty boilerplate, so there's not a lot of weird stuff in there, but sometimes there's
We put all those other pages in to make sure you knew the scope that we were talking about. It's the same scope that we talked about, replacing all the HVAC systems in the building and
You guys care if I put this up on the screen?
going all the way around the building. With replacing those window walls with studded walls. And the lighting, we're replacing the lighting everywhere, including a lot of the outside that is kind of unsightly because the conduit was showing. So we're gonna hide the conduit and put a new light up.
What's the total timeline that you guys are looking at for the
Yeah.
the
I think
mechanical and lighting and the window
A lot
wall
of it
replacements?
has to do with lead time. I think mechanical equipment, it's not an unusually long lead time right now or anything. I'd have to check in on the windows and stuff, but I don't think that they're too long. I think the whole project's about 8-month project, 6 to 8 months. And parts of the project are all separate from each other, like the mechanical could continue, go to completion, separate from the windows going to completion, separate from the lighting going to completion, separate from the solar.
and this picture where you're showing the two solar arrays,
Yeah.
I don't think that's probably the proper place for them, is moving those to the north. They're gonna Because that's surrounded by trees. They're gonna get a lot of shade.
I actually was planning on, and it's up for discussion, we can move it somewhere else, but I was planning on having like 3 trees removed to make that happen there. It looks a little too far to the left on that picture than it should be. It should be a little closer to the building. But it can be reconfigured all kinds of different ways too.
And how much power would those arrays be creating?
It offsets about 30% of the building's electric for the year.
And anything we offset is not applicable to any rate increases. So that 30%, that just keeps adding up. And the utility situation in Indiana's, I don't know if you guys have seen the article, we made the top 10 as far as worst energy costs in the country. So that's not a good thing. That's not going to change anytime soon.
And those are, we aren't talking actual battery packs or anything like
No.
that. We're just talking about
Just
direct
solar.
usage.
Yeah, and on that, if you remember the cash flow, maybe we should have said something about this on there, but you can get 40% back from the government on the cost of that in the new Inflation Reduction Act.
That'll be a check back to you guys that you can spend.
On just the solar.
Yeah. We have set up suppliers so that we can have not all American, but enough American to consider it American made, so that we get an extra 10% on that. The base is 30% and then 10% more for U.S. made.
And the amount that you're talking, the $220,904 for
third
the
of that.
solar, does that include all electrical work that needs to be done
Yeah.
to get
Oh,
it
yeah.
hooked in?
Yep. So we have like 40% of that, so like $88,000 back on that.
And this is turnkey, no change orders. These projects, the state of Indiana to do these projects, no change orders. So it's not like a typical construction project.
Janet, do you know how much our electrical bill is for out there off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Nope,
I
it's
had,
okay.
I had water and gas bills today. That's short of my head.
It's the highest one we have. I can't tell you that.
We put it in previous presentations, but I don't have it right here with me. But we definitely get that to you.
Let me see if I can find it.
And talk to me again about how this would be financed.
Well, based upon our conversation with council, you guys seem to say you could find the money in various areas.
I think the meeting we had with the council, we could find the money to make a payment, an annual payment, but not $2.5 million or $2.6 million.
There'll be a certain amount of this that's what they call capital cost avoidance or operational savings. There'll be some energy savings involved, but this turned from a energy project into an infrastructure project. So a lot of that funding you were going to have to, if you redid that building, a lot of folks would put away X amount of dollars per year to be doing these projects.
I probably should have tried to put a cash flow in there. Apologize for that. We had in the past, and it should be pretty well the same since the price didn't change that much. But I don't have that right available.
Well, it still has a price tag, and it still will have to be paid at the end of the project, and there's a whole lot of difference between an ability to make a payment.
And that's per month.
Well, the jail's about
Because I don't believe the council's in the mood to do any bonding. So, and this wouldn't qualify for BOT.
That's not currently the way that it's set up. We might be able to look at that, but that's, I've talked to your buddy Greg about it, and, potentially we could do that.
Well, the building needs work, that's for sure. It's always been my concern. Where's the money come from? So, you guys' thoughts?
Definitely think the building needs work. I mean, the air conditioning, the heating and conditioning systems are outdated at best. It was a great plan to reutilize the schools when they vacated it in '03, but haven't done a whole lot to it in the last 20 years. 7 or 8 agencies working out of it. It's either invest in it now or start planning for its replacement.
And as you guys well know from a lot of other things, is everything, over the last year and a half, everything seems to be doubling. So, costs on this stuff is not gonna get any less expensive, so.
But as far as the financing side of them paying for it, no, I don't have a whole lot of experience in that area.
The building was somewhat renovated in '06 when the county moved in. There was a project then. It didn't, it only mainly added a few walls and stuff to make everything work for the departments at that time. Since then, there really hasn't been anything done. The HVAC is probably the most critical of what's happening in the building, but also, those, like I said before, those windows, most of them are from the 1950s and single pane, and that's the big issue too. So, lighting, you can leave the lighting, but it pays for itself really quick, So, originally, I looked back at my cash flow. Originally, I had $38,000 a year in energy savings. $10,000 in rebates that the electric company will give us to help pay for the lighting. But like Rick said, windows and stuff, even though they're leaky, they just don't pay for themselves real quick, so.
Who's gonna get trained to run this HVAC and et cetera?
It's gonna be exactly the same as what's there. It's really a very simple system because it's just like your system at home. It's a bunch of residential systems, times 18. There's 18 residential systems. Furnaces up there, air conditioners are up on the roof, just like the air conditioner outside your house. And we are replacing the thermostats. I'd asked them to put, it's basic thermostat, but it's Wi-Fi enabled now, so if your operations wants to see if, say something, somebody's complaining about it being cold, they can look and see what temperature the thermostat's set for, stuff online. It's pretty simple.
And replace the refrigerant's the big deal. It's got
Yeah, the
old
refrigerant's the big
It's got the
deal.
old R22 refrigerant in it, which is, you can still get it, but it's on a black market.
Yeah, and the one that R22 was replaced with is now out, and they got another one to replace it, and it keeps going up.
if they were down on the ground, you'd have to watch to make sure somebody, there's been people going in and just getting the refrigerant out because it's so expensive now. Remember they used to rip out the coils, the copper coils? Now they're getting refrigerant.
Well, fellas, we table this, or do we figure out how we're gonna pay for it, or?
Be allowed to schedule some kind of discussion on financing for it. I said, I think it's something that definitely needs to be, something that needs to be done for that building and its future use. We're discussing a new government building, which I don't think is a cheaper plan.
What was the lifespan? Sorry, I'm backtracking here just to get information. What was the lifespan on the solar panels?
They have 25-year warranty. Most of them last 30 to 35 years or more. It's sort of like LED lights. I don't know if you know, but LED lights usually just don't fail. They just start getting a little dimmer. Same way with solar panels. They just stop producing quite as much. But over 25 years, they guarantee the performance for 25 years.
The 30% average savings, is that an average across all months where
Yes.
you would have reduced sun exposure in
Right.
certain months?
And the reason we sized it that way is because on that type of a building, if we did 100% offset, then you would be sending a lot, in certain months, you'd be sending a lot back to the power company, and they don't give you equal dollar for dollar for what you get. So 30% is a safe number that won't you won't be selling your electric back to them for whatever 5 cents
Sure.
a kilowatt hour when you need it buy it for 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So we just try to right size it for this building.
Which of those proposed solar locations are we leaning towards the most?
Oh, you're looking at the older one where, yep, several. It's whatever, I mean, it doesn't matter to it where you put it. May be a longer run to it. Some people want to see it and put it up in the front yard, to show that they're doing something. There's these stories of
The
people.
latest version puts it in the back and gets it out
Yeah.
of the way. Really.
I think if we were to do that, that's probably preferable because there's residences right across the road there. By my very quick math here, and I could be off on this, it looks like with the savings that we would be incurring, rough numbers that we got first off for how much we were spending previously was $2,755 on electrical per month. 30% savings is roughly $826 per month, which would put us, if we were to get the 40% discount from the Inflation Act of $88,400, taking that off of the $221,000 purchase price, leaving us with $132,600. That puts us at basically 13 years to equal money from the cost of the installation of the solar panels to when we actually start seeing a real benefit there.
That's if utility rates stay the same.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and the original project financial summary showed that a 20-year total savings would be about $3.741 million. So it would be about $1 million more in savings over 20 years than what the energy cost would be.
Rates have been going up an average of 6% over the past 15 years, and that's the.
Yeah, on our original cash flows, I think we put it at 6% increasing annually, which is, it's been about 7% if you look back to the year 2000 to now, rate increases.
Yeah, your original one that I got said cash flow and following page includes the cost for maintenance of the solar array as well as
Yeah.
potential increases in property insurance due to added property value from the solar array. Cash flow assumes 6% annual electric rate increase and 4% annual natural gas rate increases.
Yeah.
Project cost then was 2.8, we're under that projected, and the 20-year savings was 3.7. 25 years, 4.3 million.
And that's total across the board savings.
Yeah, that's for all the ECMs, and some of that is operational savings, which it's saying you needed to replace your windows already. So, don't look at the energy savings if you want to look at cash in your pocket every year.
Well, I think the windows is a major energy savings.
It
They're
is.
floor to ceiling windows, so just the amount of sun that you're getting in there, and
Mhm.
if you're staying too close to the windows at the wrong time of the day, I mean, there's a 8 or 10 degree temperature jump in that part of the room too. No insulation in a single pane.
When we went around the building too, there's like if you look at, they call it EFIS, the covering of the walls right as you're entering in, and the water ran down it. We included replacing that, basically dressing up the whole outside of the building, because we knew if we just did just the windows, everything else would stand out like a sore thumb. That wasn't fixed or something. So we're trying to make it so that you have a nice exterior of your building again.
I definitely think it's a project we need to try to figure out how to finance and what the plan is that the council wants to include on it.
Okay,
Yep.
we'll,
Would you like us to go back to your next council meeting?
I don't think so. They're well aware of our, what we need.
Gotcha.
It's just a matter of if their money tree's big enough. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Not been getting water lately. Jeremy, this next one on you, county logos.
So I wasn't able to get all the information. Pulled together tonight from the other folks that I'm working to get the logos pulled together. But we are going to be putting out a request for bids for logos on clothing and on county vehicles. Now that the county has a new logo, we were looking at options of branding for apparel, whether that was going to be like a shirt that's purchased by the county, or it was going to be a situation where the county was going to be, after the bidding process, have an online portal available where employees can then go and select a shirt or a hat or a pullover, and select out of a set range of shirts or other apparel that we've selected, so that everybody would be matching in that same ballpark. And then the same thing for vehicles, to get a cost to have the county's logo put on the side of different county vehicles. Obviously not the sheriff's department vehicles or things like that, but others. And so I wasn't able to get all the information pulled together tonight, so that we could have more specific requests in the bid. But that's something that I'm going to try and get pushed through so that we can have it at the next meeting.
So you're going to seek vendors, because
Yep.
it's probably going to be two different style of vendors. I mean, they're
Yes.
clothing vendors going
Yep,
to be.
they are separate bids for
Mhm.
apparel and for the vehicle logos. And we were wanting to do this because we know there are multiple businesses locally that would like to have the opportunity to supply this kind of logo branding for the county. So that's the reason that we're looking at the actual bidding process.
Okay. So have it next go around.
Yep.
All right. Matt.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey.
Appreciate you getting us on the agenda tonight. I'm here representing Greensboro Junior High Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I have some high school students here from Greensboro Junior High representing the Fellowship of Christian Athletes there, Mila Wenzel and Tyler Dwinger, and they're going to ask for permission to use the courthouse lawn for our annual See You at the Pool event. So
All right.
I'll let them take the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mila Wenzel.
I'm Tyler Dwinger.
We come to you on behalf of the Greensboro Community High School's FCA, which stands for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We come with a proposal to request to host our second annual See You at the Pool on the South Courthouse lawn, which is a day of prayer for the community.
It's a day of prayer, and it's the national thing. So there are people all throughout our country doing this You Like the Pole, and it's hosted by the high schools all around the country. We pray for people such as first responders, pray for military, pray for all of our leaders, government, teachers, churches, all of that. And we do that with the community. As far as people who come, like obviously the high school hosts it and stuff like that, but everybody's willing to come. Everybody here is able to make it, and it's just a great day. We just pray in the morning, and with the whole nation praying at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. So.
The date again, because it's not on our agenda.
Wednesday, September 27th at 7 a.m.
Any questions for the kids?
I don't have any questions.
Motion to approve the request.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
And I'll concur. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you for your time.
Hope to see a big crowd.
That's right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt, for coming.
Yeah, everybody's invited too, so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Next up on the agenda is our insurance discussion. We're going to have a joint meeting, Commissioners, Insurance Committee, and our current insurance provider, an executive session meeting on Monday, the 11th, 9/11, at 9 a.m. So I want to get everybody on the same page, and I think that's our best route to get to that point. Next up, Jamie Iverson.
Yeah, what you got going on in Bernie? I hear you're gonna fix that little town.
Well,
I wanna see it.
what we're doing is investigating complaints about properties, nuisance, and litter, and then seeing if there's any action we need to take on it.
So they're hollering about some cars they got set behind my house,
Okay?
but the people across the street got hogs and chickens.
Okay?
That's legal?
Well, I'd have to review the ordinances, but if there's no ordinance that prevents hogs and chickens in town, then maybe.
Will there be something that allows hogs and chickens but not cars?
Well, abandoned cars, broken cars, cars that's got trees growing through the hoods would be something that would be frowned upon.
Well, they ain't got no trees growing through the hood, but, is that all we're doing? I mean, the sidewalks that need replaced? You come down there and done some tiling a year ago, and you paved half a street.
Before my time, I don't have an answer for you on that.
The highway department took care of that, yes.
What, they're paving?
Paid for the paving and the tiling.
Well, so when do we find out whether I need to take my cars off the lot and put a hog pen back there?
Well, has Mr. Buney sent you a letter that says the cars need to be removed?
Yeah.
I think that's the process right now. Are the cars operable?
Yeah.
They run?
It's not plated,
Okay.
because I only drive one at a time.
Okay. But they're both operable, they both run?
Yeah. Yeah, I had one running last summer.
So a year ago.
Yeah.
I'll get with Mr. Buning and drive out to your property and take a look around.
Okay. That'll work.
Okay.
Anything else on that line?
Not on that one.
Highway department. I asked to have this back on the agenda. We spoke about it some on our last meeting. Our thoughts, the previous, as I announced before, our previous commissioners, when we decided to build a new highway department, went to the council and worked out financing deal, and that agreement, although it was only verbal, our intentions were to sell the present highway department when we got moved into the new one. that sale of that property would help pay for the cost of the new one. So we need to hash that out a little more. I think the last time the two of you were expressed thoughts of keeping it, and when that word got out, I got approached by a few council members that didn't agree with that idea, so that's why I've asked for it to be on here and talk about it a little more.
So my thoughts on it is, I'm not convinced necessarily one way or the other, but the discussion on how to solve the other future needs of the other agencies that's been discussed with me since I came on is part of the question. Spending $1 today is not necessarily saving $1 tomorrow. Kind of the same conversation we had about the old jail lot. Do we keep it or do we sell it? The sheriff has expressed concern, needs for a building to be added. EMA is currently looking for funds to build a building behind the old Washington Annex. It's going to cost money. The probation and parole department is expanding through its wellness court, and they are running out of classroom space. The coroner's office is running out of space and doesn't utilize their office well for complaints of smell within that. So animal control is in a flood zone, and there's been a lot of conversations on how to fix and go with that. And when I look at all of those things, my feeling is that we can utilize that old highway department to solve a lot of those problems for some money. I think the conversation just has to be weighing the pluses and the minuses of selling to cover the other, plus those other needs, and see what's the best fit monetarily for the county. What any alternate plans there are for covering the remainder of the shortfall, because I don't think the numbers for selling it covers the whole shortfall. So what the plan was to cover the rest of the shortfall, and whether the sale price could be absorbed into that for a better long-term decision for all of the government and all the taxpayer money we'd spend on it.
Well, putting the animal shelter there, my feelings are that is on a septic, which will not fly with the city. I don't think it's capable of handling that day to day. My thoughts are that the animal shelter is a necessary evil, I guess. I'm not looking to expand it. The bigger you have an animal shelter, the more you're going to put in it, and then you're going to have more help, and it's just going to grow. And I'm not personally in the mood to grow an animal shelter. I know you're very fond of your animals, but that's my thoughts. A building for EMA, TIF, I understand is willing to listen to that concern, but it wasn't going to listen to the tune of $1 million. So I think in this annex renovation, if we put the positive airflow in that coroner's room, that would take care of the odor instead of sucking that smell through the entire building. We're just putting ourselves here pretty thin, I think.
When was the last estimate that was done for how much the highway garage would be worth?
The old one?
Yep.
There's never been an estimate. I'm just going off what realtors and auctioneers have said. But they believe it could bring $1 million easily.
I think the new projected cost for the EMA buildings, $350,000 is what we're looking at now.
That's the target we're working with right now, yeah.
Like I said, that would clear up. You have what, two large classrooms, a meeting room. Brad,
Pardon?
you guys are currently occupying your office is one large classroom. We have a small classroom next to it, another large classroom for storage, and then you have multiple bays in the building, in the back, the garage building.
2 of the 5, yeah.
And then do you have stuff in the building at the old jail lot also?
Yeah, that's shared with health. We've got PPE and there's sprayer in there.
And then the thought is the new building, if we build it, would go back in the back left corner lot where the solar array is currently setting.
That was
Where
one
I
of
was
the
headed.
options. The other was the highway department. The new highway department.
So wellness court starts January 1, and they'll have to have additional space for that person through the Superior Court Wellness Court for that. And the classroom that Brad's currently using for storage would occupy or allow that space. Now, if Brad builds his building back there, I guess those rooms would also be vacated, Brad.
Yeah, the problem with building a building back there is the bunch of fill to bring in.
Right.
The cost of.
And paving.
And also the city mentioned when we talked to them that we have to pave that party. Because it was supposed to be paved the first time we went in.
If the wellness court is not able to take over EMA, what are their plans?
I don't know that they have a great plan. There's a exit door over there that the hallway for is like 12 foot wide that they could put a wall in and make a small office out of.
And currently, all utility bills at the highway department are coming out of the highway department's budget. Once they move, that has to come out of the general fund.
We can throw in potential problems with the prosecutor's office growth too that we don't have office space for. Just hate to get rid of everything we have with all of this state mandated growth in the prosecutor's office plus the courts. I don't know if it's the right path, but 5 years from now.
The biggest unknown for me, of course, is how much renovations would cost. And I don't know. I know I was contacted after the last meeting about a company offering their services to provide estimates to us. Of course, that would cost money to get those estimates. But that, of course, that's the biggest question mark for me on the final decision there. Is I just don't know how much it would cost to retrofit. I think it'd probably be easier for EMA than for the animal shelter, but I don't know. That's my biggest question mark, because I'd like to see the facilities used, but if it's going to be costly for us or cost a significant sum, that's an issue for me.
Kristen?
I know putting in a commercial septic is, just the cost is phenomenal, but how close is Greensburg sewer and water? Is that a possibility? Looking on, they've got to be right there.
Library.
Yeah, the highway department's on city water.
Yes, but not city sewer.
Correct, yeah, but I'm just.
I know I had a conversation with Sean Durbin too. The amount of occupancy of that building would go down, not up, by moving just EMA in the coroner's office. So likely, unless there's some failure or problem with the septic, it wouldn't require any modifications. It's not currently listed, so if there's no sale or transfer between, I mean, it's county maintaining itself, so there shouldn't be any issues with the septic system if we retain that. So we wouldn't have to do anything to make it a commercial, and even if we did, it would just be a filing change, which would have very low cost. So unless there's a actual problem with the septic, there's no real concern there. But it's not filed with the state right now as either a commercial or residential as of this afternoon. And if TIF was willing to help with the building, that money could be used for renovations. I think $300,000 would go a long way. But it doesn't answer the question of how to cover the shortfall, what that looks like monetarily. I'm just trying to weigh all the pluses and the minuses. We have to pay the highway bill. The question is do we sell it and pay it now and then spend 4 times the money in 5 years or 6 years to solve the problems that we're projecting today through conversation?
So as far as the shortfall goes from the new highway, do we have a term? Do we have a length? Anything specific for what that is?
No. Right now, the maximum amount to spend on the highway department is 12.2. We have 9 million coming from TIF. So it's a 3.2. Right now, we're hoping the highway will be at 11.2, 11.5 max. We've cut some things out and got it down to 11.5. We're talking about economic development payments with a couple of projects coming to the county, and that was our thoughts of making that payment through the BOT. He's willing to finance 4 to 5 years. But terms can't be discussed other than until the project's completed, because it's actually his project, not ours.
When's the timeline that we need to make a decision?
They're gonna move in and the project should be complete by November 1st.
Okay. So are we able to find out what the terms and conditions are of the financing and then make the decision on the sale?
At that point, when the project's complete.
I guess what would go into that too for me is what the interest rate's gonna be. Depending on how much that interest rate, I mean, that's a huge number. And if it's anywhere near what you're talking on mortgages right now, you're talking about a very high number. That could cost the county a lot of money in 4 or 5 years. So I mean, if we're talking about saving money by retrofitting buildings, we might be spending the same amount of money retrofitting buildings that we would be spending on interest rates if you're talking $2.2 million over 4 to 5 years, depending on what that interest rate is.
Agreed. Just curious what the numbers are and how to compare those two and see what's the best financial decision for all of the decisions.
Yeah.
Should we move forward with getting assessments of value on County Highway Garage and the old jail property?
I'd like to see those numbers.
I would be much more up on the idea of selling the county jail property that has nothing on it if it's got any value of helping.
Yeah, I'd like to see appraisals for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that. They're about 25 grand a pop, so commercial appraisals are pretty salty. And there's not,
Well, if we were gonna sell it, we would do an appraisal anyway, right?
go by auction. I mean, that's how you're talking the county jail, the old jail side? The highway department, I would put on auction. We have 4 very interested buyers at the moment. And I think the best way, and that way you're only looking at a 3 or 4% cost of sale.
But we don't know what it's worth.
No.
So they come in and lowball us and we can sell it for pennies on the dollar and nothing. But we have to spend $25,000 to figure it out.
And commercial appraisers are, when we did, where did we get the last appraisal on? We had to go with somebody from Shelbyville. Wasn't anybody in the county? When it's the health department?
Sounds right, yes.
There's just not a lot of those people around. do that.
Well, before we say yes on the appraisals, let's look into appraisers and see. A little bit on that, because I'd hate to spend a guaranteed $50,000 or.
Yeah, because the jail lots are zoned residential, so we don't need a commercial appraisal for that. I think it's divided into 5 or 6 lots, and I checked today, and there are something. R2,
I don't know. Okay. You know?
I don't know. No, they agree for.
I can look at that. As long as I know what I'm looking at.
Well, we don't have a lot of time here to something going, so we need to press on with the decision on how we're gonna.
Yeah, unfortunately, when we started talking about putting money into the annex, that's where my conversations came up. I didn't want to put money into an annex that nobody wanted to use in 10 years either. So when I toured the annex and talked to all the directors and operators over there and listened to their needs, a little more space was really what they needed. I know the sheriff's department has talked about needing some place for large evidence storage, with EMA having both those buildings partially occupied, plus the state police occupying some of it, and somebody else's buildings are not available for that. So if we could figure out how to vacate that, then we don't have to build another building for him, potentially. Table and see what it costs to get an assessment done, Jeremy? Is that your current thoughts?
I think so. Yeah. Because I'm not opposed to selling, depending on what those loan numbers come out to. I just need a little bit more information before I say for sure which direction I'm willing to go.
I am in agreement with that.
All right. Brett?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. I'll make this real short. Brett O'Plain, CEO of Decatur County REMC. So as we work feasibility of fiber in the community, we came across it's a piece of state legislative that allows what they call an infrastructure development zone. So essentially what this is it provides establishment by counties of infrastructure development zones in which broadband facilities would be exempt from property tax. This is something, I sent you guys an email that has essentially the process and kind of points to SE, I think it's Senate Bill 560. That describes kind of the process of how you would go through it. There are about 3 counties that are pretty close to us that have established this. So you can look at some, I sent a couple of those over too. Something I would highly recommend this body look at. We'd be willing to help. As we're going through our feasibility, we feel this tool could really help the solution to connect our community. Due to our low density, I mean that's really what the problem here is, right? Low density. The business case for any provider to deploy fiber is going to be really, really challenging. So this would just be another tool to help. We would offer to help you all if that would be something that you would entertain. Second thing I wanted to talk about was next level Okra grant opportunities. So they haven't announced the date yet. Actually, it was supposed to be June, I believe, but we do know that it's coming. The state was going to send commissioners data addresses, basically, so home level, address level data that was supposed to show unserved, and they're looking for you all to confirm those locations. Again, we're going to be looking at those dollars from an Okra grant standpoint. So if there's anything we can do to help, verify any of those addresses as far as are they served or are they not served. We know the federal maps are, for lack of better terms, junk. State ones are a little bit better, but the more address level data that we can get to show that those are either underserved or not served, the better you have an opportunity to get those next level. So there's 80 million in next level, and then there's 816 million across the state of Indiana for BEAD grants. So I I believe this is gonna be the opportunity that we can go after those dollars. Someone needs to go after those dollars to connect our community. We're here to help. Again, we're kind of going through the process of feasibility. Last thing, next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we are registered, and I haven't talked to Brian about this yet, but the ID, Indiana Development, IDEC, I guess, is putting on a webinar. We are registered for that. If you, they're basically saying commissioners, county council, if you all want to join us, you can. It's at 2 o'clock next Tuesday at the RMC. They're saying you only have to have one registration. You have a room full of folks. So if you guys want to join us, you can.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock. And I can send you an email.
Yep.
That's all I really had. I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of kind of the learnings that we're finding out as we go through kind of this feasibility stage.
Okay. Ochre was is that the one we were using for a Y?
Yes.
And we can only do two at a time? Do we know the status of the Y Ochre application?
I haven't heard.
You're going to those Serpent meetings up and down?
I've gone to a couple, yeah.
That's where that all stems from.
Yeah, the address level thing, that's huge. Again, we tried to market to our members of the co-op to have people go in and challenge those addresses that you know aren't served. So,
And that, when they did that survey, of course, is online. Well, if you're not served or underserved, how do you respond? It's like where I live, I have a Verizon hotspot. That's the only. I've had 3 or 4 of your board members tell me, "Oh, you can get this, you can get that," and I've had every one of those come. No, I'm sorry, you cannot. You need to be a mile this way, or you need to be a mile that way. Or,
Yeah, I just got an email today about the same thing. It was a lady who has a need to take care of her grandchild. She's Southwest 60 at the tree, I think she said. There's no internet, so she can't do any of the at-home school days or everything is 100% online. So the homework's online. She can't take care of or provide any care for her 7-year-old grandson because she doesn't have access to internet.
yeah, I could stand up here for an hour and give you guys the phone calls I get every other day. It's definitely a problem. That's, again, I'm just making you aware of some tools that other counties are using. I just know, looking at some of the feasibility, that anything that can be done to help the solutions, now's the time to do it, because as soon as this $8 come out, it's gonna be the last round of big funding. And if you do the back of the napkin, there's enough. As long as the state gets the money to the providers that are gonna actually serve the unserved, there's enough dollars out there to get every person that lives in Indiana served. If those, so.
done properly.
Anything this body can do to help.
I'll try to get out there Tuesday and listen to that. Appreciate it. All you're doing.
Thanks, Brett.
Patty?
All I had were the new hires for August. We had 3 full-time, 1 in the prosecutors, 1 for court services, and 1 for detention center. And part-time, we have 1 in the auditor's office. And those were all done for August.
Okay. Brian, you have anything for us?
Just a lot of things we've been working on that are hopefully coming to fruition here soon. What can I talk about? Yeah, probably in the next fall. There'll be this coming fall. There'll be some projects coming. You mentioned some other ones that might be kind of closing up. I'm going on a site selector trip in late September to keep the region at the forefront. I will stress that the READY program is still getting put together, but they do have somewhat of a timeline. I got the regulations later this afternoon. I haven't gotten a chance to look at the rules that the state put out, but I will encourage, especially this body, and I think the council, as represented by Dan Burkhardt and Mark, you you've been at our steering committee meetings in the past here. We do need your input on projects. I think some that were mentioned here are, and some that we've talked about could be viable, ready projects. And as those rules come out and that program kind of materializes, we'll have a little bit better guide of what qualifies and what doesn't, and what sort of matching funds can come up and what can be used as matching funds and such to maybe kind of leverage some of these, to fund some of these projects. So.
Thanks. Anyone else? Doug?
Has there been a decision made? Speaking for the surveyor in the corner that's elected, is that still on the table with the insurance?
We're having an insurance meeting on the 9/11. 9/11. At 9.
At 9/11. Yeah, still table with more discussion.
We want to get all commissioners on the same page as to what the insurance cost, and how it's covered. And so no decision has been made yet.
Is that open to the public?
No, it'll be executive because all 3 commissioners are involved.
That was my next question. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I've got a couple things. Patty, you mentioned something about getting a bid for replacing the elevator.
Yes, I haven't got it yet.
They told us it'd be a couple of weeks to get it.
It's something that's kind of been getting brought up in the ARPA, because there's some money set aside for potentially taking care of that project.
They did tell us that it would take
4 to 6 weeks.
8 months. If we pulled the trigger today, it would take 8 months to get the parts, and the elevator would be completely shut down for 8 weeks. So we would have to make arrangements with the courts to function without an elevator.
A side note with that, we talked about trying to do a lift in one of the stairwells. We could possibly use that to get people up and down that would need access through that time period. So that may be something to try to get a bid on too, and we could do that pre the elevator being shut down, and then security could utilize that lift option through the stairwell to utilize that through the elevators downtime.
Need 3 stairwells. The one going from security up to the first floor, and then you'd have 2 flights of stairs in the center.
Yeah. Even if we just did the one outside for that to get up there. Something to think about, the process.
But yeah, we'd have to make a plan.
The other thing I had is that part of the EMA process and the solar eclipse plan committee process, we kind of talked briefly about the fairgrounds being utilized for an event on April 7th and 8th. I just want to talk about during the commissioners meeting and make sure we're all still in agreement to let an event planning group utilize the fairgrounds for that weekend to try to help. I guess what's being pushed out by Department of Homeland Security is that Decatur County can expect potentially 20,000 to 30,000 people in Decatur County for the solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. Through EMA and other public service officials, they're planning events to try to coordinate and get as many people to the same locations as possible to keep people out of fields and yards to look at this. So want to see if we can utilize or make sure we're still good to utilize the fairgrounds on April 7th and 8th for that. It's also been requested that we close the courthouse for April the 8th. It's going to be very taxing for the sheriff's department to provide patrols for the county and all the potential locations throughout the county. Just get all of his officers there, so freeing up the courthouse security officers for any duties with that, plus no transports would be helpful for him. I've talked to Decatur and Superior Court and the prosecutor's office. They all are able to clear the schedule. I know a lot of times they're the most hardest to coordinate with, so they're able to do that. So I wanted to bring that to the commissioners too, on whether that's something that we would be okay with before I press forward to talk to the rest of the officials in the courthouse.
Hey, tell me just real quick, as a part of the fairgrounds, we would also request extension office as well as being part of that.
Yes. Extension office is set up well for a central command point for the central command. We're talking potentially having nurse practitioners on location so that we're not trying to transport through town. And keeps some of the potential first aid that we would need out in that area. Again, in the beginning stage of the conversation, it'd be a treat and release on site versus going to the hospital. But like I said, this is coming down. Indiana Department of Homeland Security, I mean, they're predicting 20 to 30,000 people in Decatur County. The heart of the solar eclipse runs through Carthage, Upper Shelby County area. They'll experience 4 minutes and 4 seconds of complete darkness, and Decatur County is like 3 minutes and 45 seconds of complete darkness. So we're going to be right in the zone of where people are going to want to be at. I believe last I was told, every hotel in Decatur County is sold out, plus the adjoining counties, and most of those hotel rooms were at $1,000 a night on fee. So it's coming.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm in agreement to use the fairgrounds. I have no issue with using the extension office with their conference room or whatever you need to do for that. I have no issue with that.
Thoughts on closing?
Too early to tell.
Okay.
It's my general. I mean, that's my feeling on that right now. I don't want to make that call.
Day, is that
yet.
Tuesday?
It's a Monday.
Monday?
Yeah, currently Greensburg schools are going to be closed. They're going to do an e-learning home day. And the event that the city, law enforcement and emergency response are planning is out in the Rebecca Park area in the school and drawing over there. The county schools are currently still planning on being open and having school. They're talking currently, I think, about a delayed response to keep the kids at school for the event. So.
Anything else?
Talks away day on Saturday.
Yeah, you guys working at it?
Yes, I'm planning on being out there. I talked with Kenny earlier. I'll be out there.
Yeah, I cannot.
Yep.
Barbecue's always that day. So.
Is it starting at 8?
8 o'clock. Yep, 8 o'clock to
Yeah,
1.
Talksway Saturday. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do something to make it
So
work.
the cars line up at 5? Just asking for a friend.
If there's
What's the focus of this talk today? Are there
everything,
different things?
no, everything is this time.
Toxic.
Anything.
Tox.
I know sometimes it's just electronics or
No,
sometimes it's
it's-
just
This is
everything.
Tires, chemicals, paint.
Keep it out of the ditches, get it out there.
light bulbs, fluorescent bulbs, tires.
Sounds like I should wear my dirty clothes.
Yeah, I wouldn't dress nice. Hearing nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
We are finished. Thank you all for coming.